So first thing we're going to do is factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. And this is when you're given 4 terms. Factor by grouping is when you're given 4 terms. So remember, the directions will always say factor. Hopefully it always says factor completely, but if it doesn't, make sure you completely factor it. Whether it's a GCF or a 2 or whatever it is. Okay, number 1. So you're going to have 4 terms here. Does anyone remember factoring by grouping? What you did? Okay, you're going to group the first 2 terms. They're going to become their own parenthesis. And you're going to group the second 2. And I always put my parenthesis in front of this plus sign or minus sign, whatever it is. That way don't forget about it. Okay, so I grouped the first 2, I grouped the second 2. Now I want to take out a GCF from here. So just from this, what can I take out? 2x. So once I take out a 2x, what am I left with in here?
Y plus 6.
Perfect. Y plus 6. I do the same thing here. What's a GCF between these 2? 7w. And I'm taking out a positive 7w, so I want to include that sign. What's left?
Y plus 6.
Good. Y plus 6. So factoring by grouping, these 2 left inside the parentheses should be the same. So just like we take out a GCF between here and here, like 2x, I'm going to take out this whole binomial that's common. So I'm going to factor out a y plus 6. So I'm taking a y plus 6 out of this one and out of this one. What's left when I take that out? 2x plus 7w. And that's your answer. Do you remember this at all? I see a couple nods. That's good. It's not terrible. Factoring by grouping, I think, is the easiest. Okay, number 2. Okay, so group the first 2, bless you, and group the second 2. And then look at what can you take out. So what's common in the first set? Perfect. 5c. And then left over we have 3a minus 2b. What's common in the second set? Just a 3, so I'm taking out a positive 3. And what's left? 3a minus 2b. Again, if these aren't the same when you're doing factoring by grouping, then you probably just messed up on a sign or what you took out because they should be the same. So I take out what's common. So 3a minus 2b is its own binomial. And what's my other binomial? 5c plus 3. Remember, you could multiply this back out to check your answer. If you FOIL this or however you decide to multiply, double distribute, you should go back to this to get the same answer. Okay, number 3. group the first two, group the second two. So what's common in the first binomial? X. So I take out an x. I'm left with x plus 2. Now if you see the minus sign here, so I've got this minus, you should take out a negative. Okay, so I'm going to take out what's common, which is a y, but I'm going to make it a negative y. I'm going to take out a negative y. So the negative and the y are gone, so I get positive x. What's my second term? Positive 2. Good. Because I took out a negative here, so I divided by a negative, which is a positive, and I took out the y. If you take out just a positive, you would see that your 2's aren't the same, because you want these two to be exactly the same. So my answer is x plus 2 times x minus 1. Let's do 2 more grouping ones. Number 4. So try number 4. So take out an x of the first one. What am I taking out from the second one? Negative what? 1, yes. You're taking out a negative 1. Because there's nothing else that's common here. So then what am I left with? Perfect. A minus 3. Now if you just put a negative here, it's okay, but what I see a lot is once you take your a minus 3 out, a lot of people get confused with what do I put with this x. So if you take out that negative 1, it makes it easier to write your binomial. Remember, you can multiply it back out to see if you get the correct answer. Okay, one more factoring by grouping. I think there's one on your homework like this. So on this one, they kind of skipped that first step of having to take out a common term, but these are not the same yet. So how could I make the second one be like the first one? Take out a negative 1. So if you were to just flip it, it would be negative y plus 2. So now it at least looks in the same order, but then I want to take out a negative. So if I factor out a negative 1, I'm left with y minus 2. That negative 1, though, don't forget to multiply it with this. So if we rewrite what we have, it becomes a negative 4 times y minus 2. Then take out your common, and then whatever you're left with. Okay, let's move to trinomials. Okay, so let's start first with one that's in factored form. This is factored form. If I multiply this out to standard form or simplified form, I would go x times x. What would I do next? X times negative 7, so negative 7x. And then I do the middle terms. And then 5 times negative 7, right? You all know how to do that. So if I simplify this, x squared minus 2x minus 35. So we're going backwards. We're going to go from this to this. So remember, this number here, we're looking for two things that multiply. Multiply to give me the last number, and add to give me the middle number. So we're going to go from the trinomial to two binomials. And there's different ways to do this. Some people use box method, T-chart, different ways. So the way I show you, you might be comfortable with another method, and that is fine. It's whatever works for you. If you don't understand what we do today, just come in and see me. Here's number one. Some of them will be easier than others. So I'm looking for two numbers that add to give me 6 and multiply to give me 8. 2 and 4. So, but start here. If you're confused, start with positive 8 and list your factors. 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Okay, that way you can see one of these pairs has to give me 6, which would be 2 and 4. What are my signs here? Positive 2 and positive 4. So you just split the x plus 2 and x plus 4. And that's it. Again, you can always check your answer. If you're unsure of factoring, I would recommend checking your answer. Okay, next one. A squared minus 10a plus 16. So something that adds to give me negative 10, multiplies to give me 16. Again, if you need to list your factors, do it. 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. Well, you can definitely cross out 1 times 16. And 4 and 4. So it's this one. What are my signs, though?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 and negative 2. So a minus 2, a minus 8. And double check yourself. Negative 2 plus negative 8 is negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. Or you can FOIL it out or multiply it out however you do it. Alright, number 3. We're going to throw a second variable in there. But the process is the same. So if you have a second variable, like you have this y and y squared, if I cover it up, it's the same thing. So you can think of this as though it's just x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, don't let the second variable confuse you, just cover it up. So I'm looking for something that adds to give me 2 and multiplies to give me negative 15. So 1 times 15, 3 times 5. Definitely want that. 3 times 5.
Mm-hmm.
What are our signs there?
Negative 3, positive 5.
Perfect. Negative 3 and positive 5. So when you make your parentheses, I have x minus 3 and x plus 5. You just add the y's in on the numbers. So I make this a negative 3y and this a 5y. That's all you have to do. It's still your exact same factoring. Is it coming back to you? Algebra 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 4. What should we do first on this one? Any ideas? Yeah, put it in order. So start with the highest exponent. So let's rewrite this. T squared minus 5t minus 24. So now I'm looking for two numbers that add to give me negative 5 and multiply to give me negative 24. So 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Not that. Not that. Not that. What are our signs going to be?
Negative 8, positive 2.
Perfect. Negative and positive. So t plus 3, t minus 8. Okay, try number 5. We've got second variable in there too. You get negative 5 and negative 8. And then remember, just put the b's with the numbers. Just like a times a is a squared, same thing here. The b times the b gives you the b squared. Okay, number 6. Alright, what should we do first on number 6? Yeah, rewrite it. So I'm going to put negative x squared first. So negative x squared plus 3x plus 130. Now all the ones we've done so far had a positive 1 here. So how could I make this be a positive 1? Okay, multiply it by negative 1. Instead of multiplying it, because I don't want it to go away, we're going to factor it out because I still need my final answer to be exactly the same as my original. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1, which still does the same thing. X squared minus 3x minus 130. If I multiply everything by a negative 1, it wouldn't give me the same, simplified form. So I need it to be the same exact thing as this. So now I'm going to factor the inside part. So what adds to give me negative 3, multiplies to give me negative 130. Any thoughts? Very good. 10 and 13. You can list all your factors if you need to. Which one's negative? 13. So we have x plus 10, x minus 13. Don't forget this negative 1. So if you factor something out, you have to put it back. That way your answer would multiply back out to this. If I was to multiply this back out, what does this negative 1 go to the first parenthesis or to both of them? Only the first one. So that is something that I see a lot, is if you multiply this negative into here and then into here, you would get, this would be negative x minus 10 and negative x plus 13. What happens when you do negative x times negative x? Positive x squared. And it's not positive, where is it? It's negative. Okay, so if you have a number, it only goes into one or the other parenthesis, not to both. All right. We're getting close, I promise. number 7. Okay, so we're going to do some more where a is not 1. So a couple more steps involved, but nothing crazy. Number 7. 5x squared minus 14x plus 8. So now instead of just an x squared, I have a 5x squared. Anyone know what I do with this? Remember? I'm going to multiply it with this value right here. So instead of saying what multiplies to give me 8 and adds to give me negative 14, I'm going to say what multiplies to give me positive 40, 5 times 8, and adds to give me negative 14. Okay, so you multiply these two values. So I'm going to do positive 40. So 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8. Is that it? Yeah. So which pair gives me negative 14? 4 and 10. What do I do with those? Or what signs? Both negative. Now here's the extra part. Okay, there's different ways to do this part. This is the way I think is the easiest to get your correct answer. I'm going to take negative 4 and negative 10 and divide by this 5x. Not the x squared. I'm going to put 5x under here and 5x under here. Does this fraction simplify at all? Negative 4 over 5? No. So this, starting here, this is one of my factors. 5x minus 4. You just go from bottom up. I know it's weird. This is the easiest way I've seen to create the two factors. So 5x minus 4. What does this one simplify to? Negative 10 over 5. Negative 2 over x. So here's my other factor, x minus 2. And there's your answer. So what happens is instead of just an x and an x, I have some kind of number here, or two numbers, depending on what it is. So there's lots of different ways to do this part. You may have learned a different method that you like better, and that's fine. Let's try another one like that. Or y squared plus 7y minus 2. So as soon as you see that that number is not a 1, multiply the first and the last number. 4 times negative 2. So negative 8. Which would be 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So which pair adds to give me positive 7? Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, 1 and 8. Which one's positive? 8 and 8. The 8. So positive here and negative here. And then I just write them off to the side. Negative 1, positive 8. And I divide by this right here, 4y. Divide by 4y. Divide by 4y. So this one doesn't simplify. 4y minus 1. So that's one factor. But this one simplifies to 2 over y. So there's my other factor, y plus 2. And there's my answer. Any questions on that, where the first number is different? If you're struggling, I would definitely practice that worksheet tonight. My key is in the back. I have just 2 more for you. Almost done. But you'll see factoring in pre-cal, calculus, it never goes away. So if you have trouble factoring, that's something you really need to get down. All right, number 9. Any ideas on what to do first on this one? Okay, so I could multiply 8 by negative 6. Can I take out a GCF? Yes, I can. If you can take out a GCF, do that first. It makes your life easier. But also in the end, you would have to take it out anyways. so that it's in factored form. 4x squared, can't think, plus x minus 3. Plus your numbers are smaller here, so it makes it a little bit easier to factor. So now multiply 4 times negative 3, so negative 12. So something that multiplies to give me negative 12 and adds to give me, what's here in the middle? Yeah, just a positive 1. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So 3 and 4. Which one's negative? 3. 3 is negative, 4 is positive. So negative 3 and positive 4. And be careful here. Do you divide by the 8x or the 4x? The 4x, right. So I see sometimes people go back to the 8x and then your answer ends up being correct. Go to the factor form. So divide by 4x, divide by 4x. So remember, if we factored out a 2, keep that in your answer. So my first factor is 4x minus 3. This reduces to just 1. So there's my second one, x plus 1. So here it is again. Would I multiply the 2 into one of the parentheses or both? 1. There we go. That's better. So if you multiply the 2 into twice, you'd end up with what would that be? 8, and then times 2, so 16. And we just want it to be an 8. How do you feel about factoring? Okay. So the worksheet that you have in front of you, I would say start on that. You have about 13 minutes left. My key is in the back. If you are struggling still, even from Friday, that key is still up there so you guys can practice it. But I would definitely work on these 2 things tonight, so you get factoring down.